How inclusive are workplaces in the Philippines for LGBTQ plus employees today? Let's take a look at the findings from the Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride's 2024 Workplace Inclusion Survey. We asked 103 organizations, from multinational to local companies, government offices and SMEs, to assess how they include LGBTQ plus employees in their policies and practices. The survey explored 7 areas of inclusion, including inclusive policies, benefits, organizational support, technology for inclusion, education and enablement, social responsibility and thought leadership, and inclusive future of work. Here's what we found. First, do companies have policies in place to protect LGBTQ plus employees? Good news! 84.5% of companies say they do. Most of them specifically mention LGBTQ plus inclusion, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Even better, 86% have grievance procedures. So if someone experiences discrimination or harassment, there's a system in place to report it. Next, let's talk about inclusive benefits. Are LGBTQ plus employees and their partners treated the same as everyone else? 77.7% offer equal medical benefits. 63.1% offer life insurance, and 62.1% provide equivalent family-related benefits. What's also promising? More companies now recognize lived names, have gender-inclusive restrooms, and are slowly improving dress codes to allow people to express themselves authentically. Across the board, the numbers are higher than in 2021. Let's talk about leadership, because inclusion starts at the top. In 2024, 77.7% of companies now have a dedicated DE&I leader or team focused on driving inclusion efforts. 80.6% say they have champions at the executive level, and 84.5% have executives who are visible and vocal allies of the LGBTQ plus community. That's a 6.5% increase in both areas since 2021. Even better, 65% of companies now report having openly LGBTQ plus executives in their leadership ranks, a strong sign of representation and progress. Now let's look at employee engagement. 72.8% of companies have active LGBTQ plus employee resource groups, or ERGs, up by a significant 21.7% from 2021. These ERGs don't just plan Pride events. They support their fellow employees, organize meaningful programs, and advise management on inclusive strategies. The data tells us when companies treat DE&I as a long-term commitment, not just a yearly campaign, they build a culture where inclusion can truly thrive. Now let's go digital. Are HR systems catching up? Almost 45% of companies allow LGBTQ plus employees to voluntarily self-identify. 63% allow lived names in internal systems. Nearly 80% support pronoun recognition. However, less than half has gender-inclusive HR systems. Overall, the figures have increased compared to 2021. Creating inclusive workplaces means educating people at all levels, including general DE&I training, inclusion topics in leadership training, and LGBTQ plus specific training. 81.6% of companies use at least one strategy to promote inclusion from day one, during hiring and onboarding. This includes things like using gender-neutral job descriptions, diverse interview panels, discussion of workplace inclusion policies and practices during onboarding, introduction of LGBTQ plus employee resource group during onboarding, use of recruitment materials featuring LGBTQ plus employees, and talking about inclusion openly from the start. That's a noticeable increase from 2021. Definitely a step in the right direction. But inclusion shouldn't stop at the office door. 93.2% of companies actively promote LGBTQ+ inclusion outside their organizations. Nearly 80% show support publicly in media and events. Many even fund LGBTQ+ programs. Compared to 2021, there's a 24% increase in companies funding LGBTQ+ CSR activities. Adoption of DE&I initiatives also boosts external credibility, with companies earning awards, high rankings in surveys, and recognition in inclusion indices. So what about the future? An inclusive future of work means recognizing LGBTQ+ employees as companies plan ahead, creating agile, responsive workplaces for what's next. 66% offer inclusive, flexible work setups. Over half have inclusive mental health and inclusive future of work strategies. And about 50% include LGBTQ+ voices in planning the future of work. Because building an inclusive tomorrow starts with the decisions we make today. Now here's where it gets interesting. These different areas of inclusion actually build on each other. When companies include LGBTQ+ topics in leadership training, they're 9.3 times more likely to end up with an active employee resource group. Career development programs for LGBTQ+ employees and allyship learning programs make a big difference too, boosting support and building stronger communities at work. All of this leads to something powerful: active employee resource groups. Now, when LGBTQ+ employee resource groups are in place, companies are 3.8 times more likely to have inclusive policies. And when executives actively champion LGBTQ+ inclusion, that number jumps, making companies 5.3 times more likely to put inclusive policies into action. LGBTQ+ employee resource groups make companies 3.5 times more likely to offer comprehensive same-sex benefits. With executives championing LGBTQ+ inclusion, that likelihood rises even more. 4.1 times more likely, in fact. It doesn't stop there. With ERGs and leadership support, companies are also 3.5 times more likely to offer comprehensive same-sex benefits. Companies with openly LGBTQ+ executives are 3.2 times more likely to offer key trans-inclusive benefits. Bottom line, inclusion isn't just a checkbox. It's a chain reaction. And the data proves it. So how can companies keep moving forward? Keep implementing inclusive policies and make sure they're enforced. Offer full benefits, not just to same-sex partners, but also transgender employees. Invest in education for employees, managers, and executives. Strengthen career development programs specifically designed for minority groups, such as LGBTQ+ employees. Strengthen support for LGBTQ+ employee resource groups by providing resources and hands-on backing from company leadership and the HR team. Use tech and data to track your progress. And don't forget, public support matters. Because real change happens when companies walk the talk, inside and outside the workplace. Inclusion isn't just a policy. It's a culture, a strategy, a leadership choice. And it's clear, more and more companies in the Philippines are choosing to be better. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's make every workplace safe, equal, and truly inclusive for every Filipino.